Hello everybody and welcome back to Let's Play Dark Souls. In this one, as I promised, we are going to fight Ornstein and Smough. So yeah, the first thing you want to do when you fight these guys is just, I guess you could say, get the fudge out of the way. These guys hit pretty darn fast and pretty darn quick, so you have to be on your toes the entire fight if you want to, stand even close to a chance against them. You're going to notice that, you might dodge one of the attacks and another guy will hit you 10 seconds later. I'm just getting chopped up at the beginning of this fight. I wasn't really used to it. It's been a while since I had played these guys. So you're going to see me gradually get a little more confident in my abilities as the fight progresses. But yeah, just so you guys know, and I was meaning to tell you guys this, I'm sorry about the lack of an update yesterday. I know you guys were expecting Ornstein and Smough yesterday. My microphone has been displaying weird feedback, and I'm not really sure how to get rid of it. I have to try different places. I'm not really sure what's interfering with it, but eventually I will get it back on the right track. If you've seen my Mario Party 2 videos, those were taken with my new microphone, and the audio quality seems really good. So it doesn't make any sense that in a different location, my microphone quality produces a high-pitched, buzzing feedback kind of thing. So I'm not really sure what the issue is. So I'm going to try to rectify it by the next video. But for now, back to Ornstein and Smough. Now, these guys, Fatty and Skinny, or whatever you guys want to call them, are actually arguably harder when you're fighting both of them at the same time than when one of them powers up. So essentially, you could argue that once you get past the first stage of the fight, the hard part's over. I don't completely agree with that. I do agree with it if you kill Ornstein first and you have a powered up Smough in the second half, but the other way around, I'm not really sure that I would say is necessarily easier. Powered up Ornstein is just as fast as he is now, but he's the size of Smough, does a lot more damage, and has a few extra attacks that are very difficult to dodge. So, for what it's worth, there's a whole new strategy of tactics to fight powered up Smough and powered up Ornstein, and while powered up Smough might not be all that hard, powered up Ornstein is fairly difficult. But that's not to take away from the difficulty of fighting these two together at the same time. I do think that it is harder, in essence, to fight both of these guys than to fight either one of them alone when they're powered up, because what it basically comes down to is that they all have so many different moves in their moveset, and they will not hesitate to use both of them at the exact same time if they need to. The combinations are endless. One of them will use an attack, and the other one will follow up with a completely different attack. And trying to try to find any sort of pattern in these attacks is basically useless. What you just have to do is just stay on your toes and just try to pick your moments. When both of them have attacked, there's a brief pause. You have to try to line them up so they both attack at nearly the same time, so you can take that moment where they're, waiting to do the next attack and get a hit in. Now some people, if you look on YouTube, you can find people who speedrun these guys and they just absolutely crush them. That is not a testament to any specific thing you can exploit in this fight. It's just a testament to their skill. There's absolutely no way to cheat these guys or cheese these guys, really. I mean, I suppose you could take a crossbow or a regular bow, or maybe some soul missiles, and try to shoot these guys from afar, but that doesn't make this fight necessarily any easier. It's still a very difficult fight. It's not like the Capra Demon where you can run up the stairs and everything will be better. You actually have to be talented or skilled, or just try a lot of times until you get used to this fight before you can beat it. But that's partly a good thing and partly a bad thing. The good thing about it is that it's kind of a bar. for how good you are at Dark Souls and for what the rest of the game is going to be like. If you can beat Ornstein and Smough by your own, solo, then you can beat the rest of the game no problem. These guys are by far the toughest encounter you will have in Dark Souls. And if you could take these guys out, the rest of the game should be relatively doable, if not easy. Whereas on the other foot, you know, you could say that if you have trouble beating these guys, then even then that's not necessarily 100% true. You could have trouble fighting these guys, like I often do, and still beat the rest of the game without too much of an issue. But it's definitely a good bar. Now, the bad thing about how difficult Ornstein and Smough is that it is kind of a shock to most people's systems, and could potentially give you kind of a gamer's block. Now, if you fight the Iron Golem in Sen's Fortress, and that's the boss you fight right before this one, and then you immediately go into Anor Londo, like I did, and the first boss you come to is Ornstein and Smough, you're going to be wondering to yourself, when the hell did this game get so hard? I mean, most of the bosses in Dark Souls are challenging. There's nothing, you know, I wouldn't say any of the bosses are particularly super easy. I mean, some of them are easier than others. The Gaping Dragon, for instance, is a fairly simple boss once you understand how it moves. But it can still kill you in one hit if you make a mistake. So I wouldn't say any of the bosses in this game are like super easy, like child game easy or anything. But the Iron Golem is by far one of the easiest of those bosses. And then Ornstein and Smough is just on another level of difficulty. I mean, this is like, I'm not even sure what the best way to describe Ornstein and Smough difficulty is. But it's extremely, extremely difficult. And you might get to a point in this game where if you fight Ornstein and Smough like 20 times and you still can't beat them after, you know, beating every other boss in Dark Souls in like 2 tries, you might be saying to yourself, like, well, can I beat the rest of this game? And you might have trouble getting by to Ornstein and Smough. The only advice I'd have to you is to just keep trying over and over again. And if you do eventually beat it, or when you eventually beat it, then you know you'll be good for the rest of the game. And if you can't, you know, after trying a bunch of times, don't be ashamed to summon a phantom to help you kill this guy, or even 2, or even just summon the NPC Phantom Solaire. It changes the entire dynamic of the fight and makes it much more, you know, easy to do. The first time I played through this game, I summoned phantoms to kill these guys, and I wasn't ashamed of it. I have since beaten Ornstein and Smough solo, but the funny thing is, I actually don't kill them solo in this playthrough. You're gonna see me get Ornstein down to like almost no health, and then die a stupid death. And I was like so frustrated at that point that I had spent, I believe this run was over 12 minutes long. That I had fought Ornstein and Smough for 12 minutes, and then I had to do it all over again. I was just like, you know what, I don't even think I could maintain talking for 2 12-minute runs. I'm gonna grab a phantom this time. And I don't regret that. If I had never beaten Ornstein and Smough, you know, solo before, it would have been a little different, but this is a Let's Play. Most people are not going to be able to beat these guys solo on their first try anyway. So if for what it's worth, this is probably a little more honest to the actual like average player playing through this game. But then again, what do I know? I could just be really bad and not understand the skill set of the average gamer at all. Now, the reason why I specifically wanted to do it this way, and the reason you might be wondering, considering I said to you guys earlier that Ornstein is a much tougher second half of the fight than Smough is. The reason why I went this way is because the armor on Ornstein is a lot cooler than the armor on Smough. And what it comes down to is that you only get one of the 2 boss armors from the boss merchant. Which, you know, the guy who appears in Firelink Shrine on the bridge. So, if I had to choose one of them, look at it, I mean, look how badass his armor is. It's pretty awesome. And you can actually get his spear too if you use Ornstein's soul. None of those items could you get if you killed Smough second. So while that might be the easier end to the fight, you also get a much less cool item set from it. So I definitely decided that this is the way to go. Most of my playthroughs I kill Ornstein second. For my first playthrough I killed Smough second, and even then I was very proud of the fact that even with Phantoms and even killing Smough second, I managed to get through this fight, which is probably a good testament to just how difficult this fight actually is. I mean, at this point, this is one of the other reasons why I was so frustrated. I was actually popping humanities just to get through this fight, because I was like, you know what, I've gotten him down this low. I don't want to die now, even though I'm out of Estus. And the fact that I did just made it that much more frustrating. But I mean, this is actually a pretty good run for a first attempt at Ornstein and Smough in a very long time. Considering I've only ever beaten them solo one time before, I almost come up with a victory in the hardest form of this fight, so I was a little proud of myself. My run was not perfect. It was, you know, marred with tons of flaws, and I got hit a ton of times and had to pop all my Estises. But I still held my own against them. I've died within the first 5 seconds of this fight before. So the fact that I lasted 12 minutes on my first attempt, that says a lot about how far I've come in this game. And considering I basically only play this game, like, you know, one day every week to record all my Let's Plays for the week, it's basically, it's like I'm in constant practice. So, you know, from where I started, I've definitely come a long way. And his spear can actually go right through the pillars that you might try to hide from him behind. And that is probably one of the more annoying parts of this fight. I mean, if you fight this guy when you're fighting both of them, you know, the pillars will stop both his and Smough's attacks. But in the powered up forms, they can attack you from pretty much anywhere. So dodging is basically the only way to go. And dodging is something that I failed to do right there. And as you can see, he had maybe 15% of his entire health bar left, and that's when I have no words. I don't have words. So anyway, as I was saying, I decided to summon a couple Phantoms, and most of my summons failed. But I got one of them, and then I summoned Solaire, because I couldn't get a second NPC Phantom. And for what it's worth, I mean, you guys might consider it cheap that I decided to summon Phantoms for help. But I didn't really get a lot, to be honest, a lot of Phantom help. Solaire never actually makes it to the boss room. I don't know what he was doing. All I know is that I summon him, run into the boss room, and he never shows up. And then when I beat Ornstein and Smough, it says that he's died. So I don't know if he was fighting something else or what he was doing. And my current Phantom has like a starter level 1 longsword, and you'll notice that he does almost no damage to Ornstein at all the entire fight. So I basically do this entire fight myself. But when you have a Phantom, you're going to notice that the entire dynamic of the fight changes. And the reason is because each one of these bosses is, while they're fairly difficult boss in their own right, they are only extremely challenging when you have to fight both of them at the same time. You can stagger these guys if you hit them enough times in succession, and you can dodge most of their attacks relatively easily if you're only focusing on one of them. So the fight drastically changes. You're seeing that I'm cleaning up on Smough for the most part. I mean, I take a hit there, but for the most part, I'm doing big damage every time I hit him. He's just running around in circles trying to hit me. He can't really do it. You know, 600 damage in one hit. This fight is much easier when someone's just distracting the other guy. I mean, you look at Ornstein's health bar. The other Phantom's done basically no damage to him, and he's barely taking away any damage per hit. But the fact that I have someone else taking the attention of Ornstein off of me, it changes the entire fight. And you can actually, I mean, I'm running away from most of these attacks, but with the exception of the ground pound that he just did, you can actually roll like underneath or towards him on a lot of his attacks and dodge him that way. Like when he slams the hammer to the ground, you can roll underneath the hammer towards him and then be, you know, in prime position for the next hit. I'm just mauling him. It's not even fair. And that's a good example. I rolled towards him, and that's how I dodged it. And down goes Executioner Smough. And just like last time, Ornstein comes over to collect his largeness, I suppose. I've heard a lot of cool nicknames for Ornstein and Smough. I've heard, you know, Fatty and Skinny, Abbott and Costello, basically every pairing you can think of. But I think my favorite, and among some of the most appropriate, was actually Pikachu and Snorlax. That one always makes me laugh, because one of them is slow, large, strong, and actually looks like Snorlax. The other one is small, fast, and uses lightning attacks. They could not be Pikachu. Oh, and he's golden yellowish, like he's a light color, like Pikachu is. So it basically, I mean, if you were a Pokemon fan when you were a kid or whatever, you'll notice the similarity between these two guys and Pikachu and Snorlax. I think it's an excellent choice. But if you guys, you know, want to pitch in any other cool names for these guys, feel free. But Ren and Stimpy here aren't going anywhere. People have been naming them ever since they came out, and people keep coming up with new ones, and they all make me laugh. So it takes a little bit of the edge off fighting these guys, because they are definitely a pain in the ass to fight. They're the worst boss in the game. So coming up with a cutesy nickname for him kind of makes him a little less threatening, gives you a little more confidence that you can actually win. But right now my Phantom is shooting combustion at me instead of the boss. I don't think he really knows what he's doing. I could be wrong. It could be that he's just trying to, I don't know, compete this guy with, like, you know, no weapons, just for kicks. I don't know, maybe that's what he was doing. Like, maybe the first time he beat these guys, he did them with just his crappy little weapon that he has right now. And if he did, then, you know, tons of props to him, because that's impressive. But he's not really doing that much to help me right now. So you're noticing I'm going to have to do all the damage myself. And you're also probably noticing that I'm doing a lot less damage to Ornstein than I am to Smough. That's because Ornstein has, if not a resistance, he definitely doesn't have a weakness to lightning damage, whereas Smough has a huge weakness to it. Ornstein actually has a weakness to fire damage, but I don't have any weapons that fit the bill. If I was a little more prepared, I probably would have gotten something like a Claymore, leveled it to +10, and then threw a charcoal pine resin on it to give myself fire attacks. But, you know, I considered trying to do something like that, but I didn't really have the patience, and to be honest, I felt like the Zweehander, I was doing 300 damage a hit with my stronger attack, so it was probably still going to be good enough, and it ended up being good enough. So as you're noticing, Ornstein is fairly close yet again, but, you know, don't worry, he has a lot of fight left in him. And if you've noticed during this fight that I've been using Estus Flasks when, in general, I didn't even really have need of them, that's because when you summon a Phantom, you actually can heal the Phantom by like half of the amount from the Estus Flask if you pop an Estus Flask, regardless of whether you actually need it or not. So right now, if I popped an Estus, I heal up to full health, it would give like half health to this guy. And I'm going to save his ass right here, because he almost died and would have gotten no credit for this fight. But there you go. Victory achieved. And I got the soul of Ornstein and a humanity, and 50,000 souls, which is quite impressive. I don't even know what I picked up there. And there you go. This Phantom Knight Solaire got vanquished. I don't know if he just like decided that he wanted to fight something else instead. I mean, I know I was thinking, like, thanks a lot, buddy. Seriously, Solaire would have been a better Phantom than the one I got. But, you know, I can't complain. The fact that I had a Phantom at all was basically the reason why I won the fight, so... So after you beat Ornstein and Smough, you can head up here into this room, where you'll meet Guinevere.
Thou hast journeyed far, and overcome much, chosen undead. Come hither, child.
Amazing chest ahead.
O chosen undead, I am Guinevere, daughter of Lord Gwyn and Queen of Sunlight. Since the day Father his form did obscureth, I have awaited thee. I bequeath the Lord vessel to thee.
Thanks. And now I can warp between bonfires.
Succeed Lord Gwyn, and inheriteth the fire of our world. Thou shalt endeth this eternal twilight, and avert further undead sacrifices.
And that just about wraps it up for this episode of Let's Play Dark Souls. In the next one, I will show you Lautrec and the stuff you can get from him. And other than that, I will see you guys later.